We all understand the type of climate that we're dealing with. We're dealing with multiple offer situations.
I'd love to know sort of what's your why? What makes you tick? Why are you so successful?
Have a dialogue with your lawyer. Have a dialogue with your agent.
Both sort of passionate about sort of what we do.
Again, vet your agent to make sure that they're experienced and they're local. I like that idea.
No excuse to miss it on Saturdays from 8 to 9.
That's right.
WBZ.
And now, the show that gives you the latest and most relevant housing market news. Real Estate Radio Boston with financial expert Rick Shearer and legal professional Ali Alavi.
You've carved a really cool niche for yourself.
Actually, we go anywhere. We specialize in new construction. We work with a lot of builders, maybe 20, 25 builders.
Wow.
I've built many homes with clients. We like to look at ourselves as we do it all. You come into our office and we're not going to leave you alone for one moment. We're going to connect you with the inspector and the mover. And we are overstaffed with administrative people to make sure that you're taken care of.
Yeah. Speaking of new construction, so that's been an area that's been quite challenging, hasn't it? I mean, as far as a lot of towns are simply running out of space, right, as far as buildable space is concerned. Can you give us a snapshot of what's going on in Andover and the surrounding towns as far as new construction is concerned?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no land available.
Mm-hmm.
And the cities and towns, the regulatory processes, they have made it almost impossible.
Sure.
They've made it very expensive. So buyers coming in and really questioning the prices of new homes, they have no clue what the costs are to the builders and the developers from the ground up. When they first go through the permitting process, and it just goes from there. And I tell people, it starts with the cost of that land.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing tear downs. One of the builders that I work with, any place we can find a tear down, we're tearing it down and we're building a new home.
Do you find your clients to be apprehensive about listing their property during the winter season? And what advice do you have for them?
Sure. That I hear that every single day, maybe 5 times a day. But what I tell them is this. So this past weekend, I was out myself personally with 11 different buyers,
Wow.
Saturday and Sunday.
Holy moly.
If people are out now, they are going to buy a house. You have to remember that. They have, they're serious. The quantity is sometimes less than the spring market, but the quality is so far superior than the spring market.
Right. So they're hungrier than your normal buyer during the spring season.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the problems that I've seen and some things that I've seen go sideways is the clients say, "Hey, Uncle Johnny is a handyman. And I'm going to walk through and save a couple $100 on my home inspection." And then you get to the end of the closing and you walk through, and all of this stuff pops up because you didn't have a licensed home inspector.
Yeah, Uncle Johnny may be good at doing his things, but he's
Right.
not
Building
trained to look at
birdhouses
everything.
and-
I mean, we look at mechanical pieces, we're looking at structural pieces, we're looking at cosmetic pieces, everything that has to do with the house and making recommendations off it, not just being able to remodel a bathroom or a kitchen.
And one of the things that we run into a lot is they just send their real estate agent to go meet with the home inspector and go through the home with them.
Those are fun.
Yeah, right. But do you recommend that the home buyer be by your side through the whole inspection?
Absolutely. We prefer to have them basically over our shoulder throughout most of the inspection. That way they can see what we see. If we see something that's not right, we can explain to them what it is and why it isn't that way. Go over how things work. Most people have no understanding of how something as simple as a hot water heater works or a boiler or a furnace, and we go over how it works just so they have a basic understanding and being able to look for what could potentially be wrong with it and go over, basic maintenance things. Going through a bathroom, people are just, all right, toilet flushes.
Right.
Well, there's basic maintenance you need to do as far as caulking and sealing grout and, maintaining things that we can go over and teach them, especially for the newer buyers.
And some things you don't inspect for, right? I mean, you don't do a mold inspection, correct?
Yeah, so a standard home inspection is your structural, mechanical, and electrical
Right.
and cosmetic stuff on the inside. It doesn't include pest inspections. It doesn't include environmental inspections. During the process, a lot of inspectors will look for the signs of pest whether it be termites, carpenter ants, mice, carpenter bees, anything, bats, anything like that. And we'll also look for signs of environmental issues, being, white mold, black mold, green mold, water staining, anything like that. But where we're not licensed in those specific fields, which you could be. But if you're not under a home inspection, you're not there to comment on something, whether it's mold or not mold. You're there to kind of identify what the issue is and then recommend that a further evaluation by a specialist in that field comes in. So they can do samples if necessary to find out what it is.
We're dealing with winter months. Obviously, if a property has AC, you can't test the AC
Correct.
because of the temperatures, right? If we are going to have snowfalls, you're not going to be able to make any comments as to the state of the foundation if it's going to be covered with snow. So buyers really ought to be aware of some of the things that you may or may not be able to comment on given the winter months.
Correct. With my company, when people schedule an inspection, we make sure that they know in the wintertime that there are limitations of what we can see, whether it be the foundation, especially the roof. That's one of the bigger things. If there's a foot of snow on the roof, your guess of the roof is as good as mine.
Got it.
So there are definite limitations to purchasing in the wintertime. That's probably one of the bigger ones. Most of the other stuff we can kind of figure out, the roofing material and grading, which is usually relatively easy to address.
And moving is such an emotional situation. I mean, selling your house and moving, especially, and one of the things I know that you specialize in is downsizing. Maybe some the older generation, and they have a lot of stuff. They have a lot of stuff that's always been around them and family. And I mean, you come into a time where it's extremely emotional for people.
Yeah, so you got different levels of it. So you got the people that are much older, and they might be just going from the condo they're in or their big house that they didn't want to leave. So you might be dealing with them, or often you're dealing with their children. So then they're the ones trying to make the decisions for them. And so what you might do is you might come in and try to reason with them and tell them, listen, you got to get rid of all this stuff, or people got to come and take it, because they're not going to be able to fit from the 6,000 square foot house into this new assisted living place of 500 square feet. What they can do is have move managers come in, and what they do is they can help you to purge, help you to get the the old preschool little projects out of the house that you haven't been able to let go of, and and those are the type of services that people provide as far as the move managers, to try to help them coordinate so that when we come in we can do our job and we're not slowed down, because it makes it a lot slower of a process when these people are just trying to work with them to how to get rid of and what's to come and what's going to fit.
Now, JJ, these individuals most likely have valuable items. Perhaps chandelier that's been in the family for decades. How do you handle expensive items? High value items?
Sure. So what it is to be a high value item is basically every £1 per $100. So that's what it is classified to be a high value item. So you go into the place and often you can see, what is going to be high value. I recognize some art sometimes. I recognize, some china, and I know it's really high value. So basically what you got to do is you got to just take precaution on every single type of thing. Whether it's art or chandeliers, you have to do crating. There's no other way to do it besides, packing them up in crates, filling them with peanuts so they don't move anywhere.